It bursts from the water in a cascade of foam and fury, a creature of impossible scale, designed for maximum spectacle. The Mosasaurus of Jurassic World is a cinematic titan, but does this magnificent monster bear any resemblance to the animal that once ruled our planet's oceans? What happens when the irresistible force of cinematic storytelling meets the immovable object of biological law? Now, let's roll the film, open the fossil record, and begin our investigation. The scene is set with masterful precision. The camera glides over a colossal aquatic amphitheater, a testament to theme park engineering. Below, a great white shark, itself an apex predator of legendary status, is suspended over the placid surface of a lagoon. The audience, both on screen and in the cinema, holds a collective breath. The sound design is crucial. A low, resonant thrumming begins to build, a subsonic promise of immense power moving unseen in the depths. This is not just a feeding show, it is a ritualistic display of dominance, engineered to evoke a primal sense of awe and terror. The shark, the very villain of Spielberg's 1975 classic Jaws, is here reduced to mere bait, a deliberate and powerful recalibration of cinematic monstrosity. Then, it happens, the water erupts, not with a splash, but with a concussive detonation of liquid and flesh. The Mosasaurus launches itself vertically, its body an impossible pillar of muscle and teeth, clearing the water with shocking agility. Its jaws, an abyss lined with conical daggers, close around the shark with the finality of a hydraulic press. For a fleeting moment, it hangs in the air, a leviathan silhouetted against the sky before crashing back into its enclosure, drenching the gleeful spectators in a tidal wave. The spectacle is absolute. Director Colin Trevorrow frames the creature not as an animal, but as a living landmark. The sheer volume of water it displaces, the way the enormous steel rigging groans as it lifts the shark, the stadium-like seating, every element of the mise-en-scène is calibrated to amplify its scale. This is cinematic spectacle in its purest form, the leveraging of every tool in the filmmaker's arsenal to create an experience that transcends belief and inspires a profound, almost primal, sense of wonder. This is where our work as investigative scholars begins. We must trade the cinematic lens for the scientific one and confront this spectacle with evidence. To understand the scale of what we are witnessing, we must analyze the visual data the film provides. The great white shark, Carcharodon carcharias, averages between 5 to 6 meters in length. By using this known predator as a scale bar, the filmmakers telegraph that their creation is something far beyond the known boundaries of nature. Subsequent materials released by the studio and on-screen diagrams place the Jurassic World Mosasaurus at a staggering length of over 30 meters. This is the essence of size creep, the inflation of a prehistoric animal's dimensions to satisfy narrative demands for ever greater threats. To investigate this, we must employ the fundamental tool of our science, paleontological scaling. This isn't simply a matter of measuring bones. It is the complex process of using known biological and physical principles to extrapolate the full living dimensions of an extinct organism from its fossilized remains. Imagine trying to reconstruct a cathedral from a single ornate stone. You would study its material, its curvature, its load-bearing properties, and from this, infer the architectural principles of the entire structure. We do something similar with fossils. A single vertebra can tell us about the strength of the spinal column. The surface area for muscle attachment on a jawbone can help us calculate bite force. When we apply this meticulous process to the known specimens of Mosasaurus hoffmannii, particularly the magnificent fossils unearthed from the Maastrichtian chalk deposits in the Netherlands, a consistent picture emerges. This was an animal of breathtaking proportions, an apex predator without equal in its ecosystem. The largest skulls measure nearly 2 meters long, filled with teeth designed for seizing and crushing prey like giant sea turtles, ammonites, and other marine reptiles. From these skulls and associated postcranial remains, we can confidently reconstruct the animal's body plan. It was powerfully built, with a vast, barrel-shaped chest housing enormous lungs, and a shark-like tail fluke for rapid acceleration. But when we run the numbers, when we scale these elements up into a complete organism, the math consistently points to a maximum total body length of around 15 to 17 meters, roughly the size of a large sperm whale. This is a monster. To be sure, a 17-meter-long carnivorous sea lizard is a testament to the grandeur of evolution, but it is not a 30-meter leviathan. The film has not merely exaggerated, it has effectively doubled the size of the largest known individual. This isn't a simple artistic liberty, it's a leap into a different biological paradigm. A 17-meter mosasaur exists within the realm of known vertebrate biology. A 30-meter mosasaur, we propose, steps outside of it. The question then becomes not just is it inaccurate? We can see that plainly, but why is it impossible? To answer that, we must look past the fossil bones themselves and into the unyielding laws of physics that governed them. To understand why doubling an animal's length results in a biological impossibility, we must venture into the realm of biomechanics and confront a mathematical principle first articulated by Galileo Galilei in the 17th century. It is a fundamental constraint on all life, an unbreakable rule that dictates the shape and scale of every organism that has ever existed. It is called the square cube law. The law is elegantly simple in its premise. As an object increases in size, its surface area increases by the square of its linear dimensions, while its volume and therefore its mass, assuming constant density, increases by the cube. Let's visualize this with a simple cube. If we double its length from 1 meter to 2, its surface area, which was 6 square meters, quadruples to 24 square meters. That is a squared relationship. But its volume, which was 1 cubic meter, increases 8-fold to 8 cubic meters. That is a cubed relationship. Mass, therefore, grows disproportionately faster than surface area. For a living organism, this is not an abstract mathematical curiosity. It is a matter of life and death. Strength, for example, is largely a function of cross-sectional area. The power of a muscle or the load-bearing capacity of a bone is determined by its area, but the weight that muscle must move or that bone must support is determined by its volume. When we scale up our Mosasaurus from its scientifically supported 17-meter length to the film's 30 meters, roughly doubling it, we are not just making it twice as big. We are subjecting its biological systems to an exponential crisis, pushing it far beyond its biomechanical limits. Let us apply the square cube law directly. By doubling its length, the cinematic Mosasaurus would have its surface area, the skin that helps regulate heat, the lung tissue that absorbs oxygen increase by a factor of 4, but its volume, its mass, would increase by a factor of 8. A 17-meter Mosasaurus hoffmannii is estimated to have weighed around 15 to 20 metric tons. An animal twice as long with the same proportions would not weigh 40 tons. It would weigh a catastrophic 120 to 160 tons. This is the tyranny of the cube. The creature's weight balloons to a level its own biology simply cannot sustain. Its skeleton would be the first system to fail. The vertebrae, ribs, and particularly the jaw bones would need to support 8 times the mass, while their structural strength, based on their cross-sectional area, would have only quadrupled. The bones would be under twice the relative stress. To compensate, they would have to become disproportionately thick and robust, adding even more weight and reducing mobility, until the animal became a prisoner of its own mass, not the agile predator we see on screen. The iconic leap from the water becomes a biomechanical farce. The force required to propel a 160-ton body clear of the water is astronomical, and the subsequent crash back down would likely shatter its own skeleton under the immense hydrostatic shock and gravitational forces. The problems compound from there. Respiration is a surface area problem. An animal's ability to absorb oxygen is dependent on the surface area of its respiratory structures. But the mass of tissue that requires that oxygen is a function of volume. Our 160-ton Leviathan would need 8 times the oxygen, but the biological equipment to gather it would have only scaled up by a factor of 4. It would be in a constant state of hypoxia, unable to fuel the immense musculature required for even the most basic movements, let alone the explosive ambush predation for which mosasaurs were known. The same applies to digestion and waste excretion, all surface area-dependent systems struggling to service a volume that has outpaced them exponentially. This is precisely where the rigor of peer-reviewed science provides our anchors. In 2018, a comprehensive study led by Dr. Daniel J. Field and a team of international researchers revisited the known fossil material of Mosasaurus hoffmannii. Published in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology, their work represents one of the most thorough and modern assessments of this magnificent animal. The Field et al. Study did not rely on simple comparisons. It employed sophisticated statistical models and a deep analysis of the entire mosasaurid family tree to refine our understanding of their anatomy and proportions. The study confirmed what earlier research had suggested. Mosasaurus hoffmannii was indeed the giant of its lineage, but it also placed a firm, evidence-based cap on its size. By carefully scaling the most robust fossil specimens, including the iconic holotypes, they concluded that the maximum attainable length for the species was just under 18 meters, with a more common large adult size being closer to 15 or 16 meters. Their work solidifies the 17-meter figure as our best scientific consensus. The study is crucial because it doesn't just give us a number, it gives us a biologically coherent organism. A 17-meter 20-ton Mosasaurus is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Its systems are in balance. Its bone strength is sufficient for its mass. Its respiratory surface area can adequately oxygenate its volume. It is a viable, terrifyingly effective apex predator, the Jurassic World creature. By contrast, is not. The filmmakers, in their quest for cinematic spectacle, broke the square cube law. They created a monster whose very existence would be a constant, agonizing struggle against the laws of physics. It would be too heavy to move, unable to breathe, and its bones would be perpetually on the verge of catastrophic failure. The true wonder, we find, is not in the imagined gigantism of cinema, but in the elegant, constrained, and ultimately far more impressive reality of the animal that the fossil record has revealed to us. Having deconstructed the cinematic illusion by applying the fundamental biomechanical limits of the natural world, our investigation now turns from demolition to reconstruction. Let us set aside the impossible leviathan of the silver screen and use the precise tools of paleontological scaling to resurrect the true king of the western interior seaway. Let us meet the real Mosasaurus hoffmannii. Picture an animal 17 meters long, the length of a modern sperm whale with the body plan of a colossal aquatic monitor lizard. Its skull, nearly 2 meters in length, is a marvel of predatory engineering. It is not the brutish, crocodilian head of the film, but a more serpentine and refined instrument of death. Like its snake relatives, it possessed a kinetic skull, with joints that allowed for immense flexibility. Most remarkably, it had a double-hinged jaw, a feature that enabled it to open its gape to an extraordinary width, swallowing enormous prey whole. And nestled on its palate was a second set of teeth, the pterygoid teeth that would ratchet prey inexorably down its throat. This was not a creature that simply chomped. It was a biological machine designed to engulf and consume. Its body was not slender, but immensely powerful, a deep, barrel-chested torso, housing huge lungs that allowed for prolonged dives in pursuit of prey. Its skin was not bumpy and crocodilian, but likely covered in small, keeled scales that would have reduced drag, allowing it to move through the water with ruthless efficiency. Its limbs were not vestigial flippers, but well-developed paddles for steering and stability, and its tail, the engine of this predator, was not a simple rudder. Fossil impressions reveal that the great mosasaurs had evolved a crescent-shaped, shark-like fluke on their tails, providing the raw, propulsive power for the explosive bursts of speed needed to ambush their prey. This was an ambush predator on a grand scale. It likely hunted in the upper levels of the water column, using its keen eyesight to spot plesiosaurs, giant turtles, or even other smaller mosasaurs from below. It would then accelerate with a devastating surge of its powerful tail, striking its victims with overwhelming force. Its bite was not just for cutting. The robust, conical teeth were designed to withstand immense pressures, perfect for seizing and crushing the armored shells of ammonites the size of truck tires. The real Mosasaurus was the culmination of millions of years of marine reptile evolution, a perfectly adapted hunter that dominated its ecosystem utterly. It did not need to be 30 meters long to be the undisputed apex predator of its time. At 17 meters, it already was. Here, we find the beautiful reconciliation between cinematic spectacle and scientific reality, the Jurassic World Mosasaurus, for all its scientific impossibilities, serves a powerful narrative purpose. It is a symbol of nature's untamable power, a force so immense it dwarfs even our most iconic modern predators. It successfully instills a sense of awe, yet, in its pursuit of that awe through sheer scale, it paradoxically overshadows the more subtle, but equally profound, wonder of the real animal. The true marvel of Mosasaurus hoffmannii lies not in impossible size, but in its perfect biological coherence. It represents a creature pushed to the absolute biomechanical limits of its body plan, a testament to the relentless, creative power of natural selection. The process of paleontological scaling allows us to appreciate this true marvel. It reveals a creature whose every feature, from its kinetic skull to its tail fluke, was honed for supremacy. The cinematic monster is a thrilling fantasy, a leviathan born of imagination. The real Mosasaurus is a testament to what is possible within the laws of our universe, and that, perhaps, is the most awe-inspiring story of all. It was not a theme park attraction. It was the sovereign of a lost ocean world, a king whose reign is written not in film scripts, but in the stone and fossil record of our planet. Ultimately, the shadows cast by cinematic giants can sometimes obscure the very real wonders they seek to represent. Yet they also possess the incredible power to ignite our curiosity. The impossible creature on the screen encourages us to seek out the real animal in the fossil record, transforming a fleeting moment of movie magic into a lasting journey of scientific discovery, and reminding us that the truth of our planet's past is every bit as spectacular as our grandest fictions.